A very good morning to all the students of class 8. My name is Prerna and I'm your English teacher. And today from your English book Skyline, we are going to be reading chapter number 8. Now this chapter has a very interesting title. Let us find out what is the name of the chapter. Here we go. This is chapter number 8 and the name of the chapter is No Bird Can Fly Over It. So let us first read the introduction of the chapter, and then in the chapter let us find out that what is being talked about. That it said that it is so high, it has such a great height that even the birds cannot fly over it. So the introduction says the given story is a personal account of Tenzing Norgay's life. Tenzing Norgay and Sir Edmund Hillary were the first to climb the world's highest mountain. What is that? Mount Everest. But for Tenzing Norgay, there was special glory in this achievement. He was Asia's first to have achieved this feat. Climbing was not just a challenging way of making a life for Tenzing, but was his passion. So mountaineering was his passion. He devoted most of his life to this goal. Tenzing died in 1986. His funeral procession was more than a kilometer long. Let us read the story to know more about his life. Tenzing was a Sherpa. Without Sherpas, mountain climbing in the Himalayas would be an impossible mission. Literally, Sherpa means man from the east. So Sherpa, if I'm supposed to describe it in different words, it refers to the people living in the Himalayan region or of Himalayan community who live at the border of Nepal and Tibet. And they are known for their mountaineering skills. We are of Mongolian origin and long ago our ancestors migrated from Tibet. We are still more like Tibetans as our language is similar and so are our clothing and food and many customs. One of the closest bonds is that of religion, for like Tibetans we are Buddhist. Our home is harsh and stony. The weather is bitter, but still we have both agriculture and pasturage. Apart from wheat, potatoes are our biggest crop and our staple food. Besides, people keep herds which consist of sheep, goats, and yaks. The most important are the yaks. For the Sherpas, the yak is a great staple of life. From them, we get wool for clothing, leather for shoes, dung for fuel, milk, butter and cheese for food, and also sometimes meat. From it, a man can get almost everything he needs to nourish him and keep him warm. So in the first paragraphs of the chapter, Tenzing Norgay is describing about the general life of the people of his region. My family lived in Thame and I grew up there, but I was born in a place called Sashu, which means hot springs, and it is a place of pilgrimage, that is of worship. Deciding when I was born is not quite as easy as where. In Solo Khumbu, time is kept by the Tibetan calendar, which has no number for years, but only names like the year of the horse, the tiger, the ox, the bird, and the serpent. There are 12 of them altogether, all named after animals, of which 6 are male and 6 are female. And when they have passed, the cycle begins all over again. So like we have January, February, March, and ending till December. So after December again, it's January, February. Similar is the case of the calendar in China. I had been born in the year of the hare, but recently I've been able to figure out that it must have been the year 1914. The season of the year in which I was born was in the later part of May. This has always seemed a good sign to me, for the end of the May has been an important time throughout my life, the time of birth, the time of great expeditions, and the best mountain weather. It was on the 28th of May that I almost climbed the top of Everest with Lambert, and on 29th, a year and a day later, that I reached the peak with Hillary. My mother's name is Kinzom. My father's name is Gangla Mingma. My parents had 13 children, 7 sons and 6 daughters, and I was the 11th. But life was hard, and death always close, and from all of us, only myself and 3 of my sisters are still living. Until very recently, I was the only one of the family to visit the outside world. After the climbing of the Everest, 2 of my surviving sisters shifted to Darjeeling with their families. And just this year, my mother too, though now 84 years old, left her old home in Thane for India. Now, for the first time since I was a boy, almost the whole living family is reunited in one place, and this makes me very happy. My parents called me Namgyal Wangti, but at the suggestion of a lama, I was renamed Tenzing Norgay, and the reason was that he predicted great things for me. So, what is a lama? It's a Tibetan or a Mongolian Buddhist monk. Like you have priest in Hindus. Norgay means wealthy or fortunate. Tenzing means supporter of religion. When I was a little older, it was decided that I myself was to be a lama. I was sent to a monastery. My head was shaved, and I put on the robe of a novice. But once one of the lamas got angry with me and hit me on the bare head with a wooden board, and I ran home never to return. Sometimes when I tell the story, my friends say, "Oh, it was the whack on the head that made you crazy about the mountains." Many times as a child, I saw the Everest high in the sky to the north, but it was not Everest then. It was called Chomu Lungma, which means goddess mother of the world, or at times goddess mother of wind. But for me, it was the mountain so high no bird can fly over it. So Tenzing was referring to Mount Everest being so high, being so great in height, such big in height that even a bird cannot fly over it. In 1921, 1922, and 1924, there were first 3 famous Everest expeditions, and many Sherpas went, both from Solukhumbu and Darjeeling. They came back with many stories about the mountaineers and their strange clothes and boots. But I was so fascinated that one day I paid money to use a pair of mountaineering boots, but they were so big and heavy that I could not walk at all. So look at the passion and look at the zeal that Tenzing had to climb Mount Everest. They all talked about the Everest, and that was the first I'd heard of it. "What is Everest?" I asked. "It is the same Chomolungma," they answered. "Only we were on the other side of it in Tibet." I wanted to go too, but I was too young. I helped my family to grow potatoes, maize, and barley, and we raised sheep and yaks. In the early days, my family was very poor, but they saw I was a lucky baby because after I came, things became better. We ate the simplest food, but there was always enough of it. From the yak's wool and hides, we made clothing to keep us warm during the long cold winters. Unlike other people of the East, we wore shoes mostly felt and hide boots, and in all my life, I've hardly ever gone barefoot. The world was so big, Solukhumbu so small. I wanted to explore. I was only 13 when I ran to Kathmandu, and it took over 2 weeks to get there. So, since his childhood, Tenzing was very adventurous. He always wanted to know, he always wanted to explore the world. It was the first city I had seen. For about 2 weeks, I went around the city, but soon I felt homesick. When I met some other people from my village, I returned home with them. By the time I got back, it had been gone 6 weeks, and my parents were so glad to see me again that they hugged me. Though when they were through hugging, they spanked me. So, because at such a young age, Tenzing decided to run away from home, his parents got worried. When he returned, the parents were really glad. They hugged him, they loved him. But after that, he got a bit of beating also. I stayed at home for 5 more years after the incident, but I knew I could not stay in Solo Kumpu forever. I was not made to be a farmer or herdsman. Late in 1932, when I was 18, I left again. This time, it was not for Kathmandu but Darjeeling. Though once more I seemed to be turning my back on Chomulungma, it felt that I was going toward it. Now the word had spread that there was to be another expedition in 1933, and I was determined to go with it if I could. So, looking at the life of Tenzing, we can find out that one's determination to achieve something will always yield positive results. So, the expedition on which Tenzing was really determined to go was in 1933, right? And you can read more about Mount Everest and the people who have tried to climb it. Thank you so much.